We live. Hey guys, we are live. How are you doing? I thought I would come in here and do another quick sales download, a quick sales training to help you guys really feel much better about selling. And convert more of your sales conversations with ease, with integrity, with greater grace, because this is important, right? You need to get your services out there. You want to make money, grow your business, serve your clients, and all of that good stuff. So in this quick download, I want to talk about the importance of not sugarcoating your sales conversations. And this is a big issue that I see time and time again, especially in the coaching industry, because you guys have huge hearts, you're caring, you don't want to come off as mean-spirited or out of integrity. And so kind of there's a blur that occurs in your sales conversations that comes out as sugarcoating and can actually be really detrimental to your sales conversation. So I want to talk about this. And as I say, I see this most of all in the coaching industry. And, you know, I've, if you've seen me before, if you've heard, me talk about this before, sales is my jam. I have been coaching, training, mentoring in sales for over 23 years now, coming up for 23 years, both in the corporate space for about 17 years and then since 2015. So for the last 6 years, been coaching and mentoring and training sales in the online entrepreneurial space. So coaching coaches to sell their coaching, in a nutshell. So I love talking about this stuff. I love there are a lot of common themes that come through when I'm working with my clients. And today, just let me talk about this common mistake that happens most often I see in the coaching arena. And what this is, what happens is that many coaches tend to treat their prospects, and when they're having a discovery call or sales conversation, they tend to treat their prospect with kid gloves. So really overflowing the compassion, and overflowing that kindness, and feeling that anything less is potentially hard-hearted and mean. So if you feel that you're out of integrity or feeling pushy when you have to have kind of an uncomfortable conversation, then this is absolutely for you. So, let me just give you a couple of examples of what tends to be the case, what I'm talking about in terms of kind of sugarcoating your sales conversations. So one of the examples is that you build some rapport with your prospect on the call. You ask some questions to get a sense of where your prospect is at, what's brought them to this call. And once you get some clarity around where they're at and what's brought them to this call, then you'll talk about your coaching services. So you'll dive straight into how you can help them, how great your process is, how brilliant, the value of your coaching. So you'll go into this kind of spiel about that. And once you've had that conversation, what you'll find is most of the time your prospect will thank you for your time. They'll tell you they'll think about it. You'll get the I'll think about it response. And that's the end of the conversation, never to be heard of again. And you're thinking, I don't know if that went well or not, but what I do know is, they were grateful for the time and off they've gone. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is you'll listen to your prospect and you'll hear that they're in a lot of pain right now with this problem that you help them solve, and you feel sorry for them. I had a client who said this all the time. She'd feel guilty if they weren't making as much money in their business or they were struggling. She felt guilty about talking about her services. So she'd withhold from talking about her services and telling them the rates she charges. And she'd start giving them some advice, like free advice. So again, if this resonates with you and you're one that, you feel a bit sorry for your prospect, it's horrible to see them getting upset. And so you offer them some free advice. You see the shift. They feel better immediately. They thank you for your time. They thank you for your free advice, and off they go. End of conversation, and very likely you'll never hear from them again. So that's the second scenario. Then the third scenario is you might have an amazing deep dive conversation with your prospect. You really connect them to, the pain and frustration of where they're at. You tell them about your services. So far, so good. And then you get the I can't afford it answer. And so from there, you feel a bit, thrown. You thought you were doing great, but they tell you they can't afford it. There's that awkward pause, oh, shame, you can't afford it. Again, you let them go. That's the end of the conversation. Likely, third scenario, never to hear from them again. So in all those three scenarios, what this is actually, this is sugarcoating your sales conversations. And again, as I said earlier, this is because coaches are generally huge-hearted people. They're compassionate, kind, caring individuals. So you mistakenly think that you're being kind and you're being generous and compassionate by not challenging your prospects. That if you don't challenge them, then you're being nice. When in actual fact, the opposite is true. Because when you're sugarcoating your sales conversations, when you're not challenging them, when you're not kind of taking them to the pain and showing them the truth of what's actually happening, you're doing them a disservice. And, it's really important to understand that you're not here to convince anyone to buy your services. I'll often say to my prospects, I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to sell you into any of my programs. I'm certainly not here to convince you of anything. My job is to help you get absolute clarity and get you closer to the truth of what is really going on for you. So if I can help you, then I'll be able to talk to you about how that's going to look. So when you sugarcoat your sales conversations, that is when you don't probe deep enough into the pain of what's going on, then you're not getting to the truth. And the truth is that this problem is causing them a lot of pain. And potentially that pain is on three levels. We're talking past pain, present pain, and future pain. What's it cost them to date living with this problem? What's it costing them right now? And what's the implications if they don't change now? What's the future cost if they don't make the change? So it's really important to understand that by not challenging your prospect, by you feeling awkward rather than owning your solution to their problem, then you're actually doing a disservice. You're not serving your prospect at the highest level. So let's give an example. You think about smokers as a really easy example, because smokers don't quit smoking, even though they know the health risks. And the reason they don't quit smoking in the now is because they've not associated enough pain to making that change. There's more pleasure associated with smoking than there is pain associated with smoking in the present moment. And so the pain of the pain of quitting actually outweighs the current moment, or the current health issues, should I say. So it outweighs the pain of the health issues. However, when people do quit, it's because they've associated enough pain to not quitting. So, you can talk about, what's the implication if you don't quit? What if you don't get to see your walk your daughter down the aisle, as a graphic example of the pain of not quitting? The very real cost of not quitting is that you're not going to be here to see your grandchildren. It's kind of that level of pain, future pain, that people need to have associated with smoking. So a truly powerful sales conversation that will convert your prospects into paying clients connects them to the truth. This is what we're doing. We're connecting them to the truth. And the truth is the cost of not changing. So you're not sugarcoating the truth. This isn't about being pushy. This isn't about you being mean or unkind or lacking in compassion. In fact, you're being kinder, more compassionate when you're able to help somebody really connect to the truth of what's going on. And it's like holding up a mirror to them and reflecting the cost of not changing, especially when you know the power of what you do. So your prospects, and this is irrespective of what niche you're in, your prospects are likely to have tried many different strategies already. And nothing has worked. So that's intensified the fear, it's intensified the pain. So if you know that your process works, you have an absolute duty to help your prospect make a decision that will transform their lives. And to come to the example that I gave of my client who felt sorry for her prospects, so she would give them free advice. That's putting a band-aid. You're not actually helping somebody. You're giving them a temporary plaster over the problem that's not actually solving the problem. And what you've got to understand here as a final point is that your prospect does not need more information. There is enough information out there. When your prospect books a call with you, they are not looking for more information. What they need is transformation. And that's what you offer when they work with you. So just in summary, it's understanding, shifting and reframing your mindset around what is actually kind, what is actually big-hearted, what is actually being really compassionate. Well, all of those things, when you're a coach and you're on a sales call, it's about helping somebody get to the truth with clarity of what is really going on for them, and the cost that they've already paid for not changing, the present cost of not changing, and the future implications of not changing. And your job on that call is to help them connect to that truth and show them that, you know, they've got to make a decision. You're not convincing them, but your job is to help them, hold a space for them to make a decision, a really powerful decision. So this is what I really want you to hear, that when you sugarcoat things, you're actually not being kind. So yeah, so Irina's here, got a bit late. You'll have to jump back and catch the replay, hun. I'm finished for this evening. So I hope you found this helpful, guys. This is a really powerful reframe to make. I know it's not easy. We want to like help the world and hug the world, and you know, it's in our nature to help people. But the disservice you're doing is when you're actually not connecting people as deeply as they need to be connected to on those sales conversations. All right, guys, so if you missed the beginning, go back, watch the replay. If you've got questions, comments, please put them below, because as always, I love to answer your questions, and I get inspiration through the questions you ask to share more and give more answers to your burning questions. So have an amazing rest of your day, and I shall speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.